Your Pick, a film podcast. I'm Geneva.
And I'm Tatum.
We are two friends who love movies and love sharing them with each other. Each week, we normally take turns picking a film that is close to our hearts and talk about why it moves us. But this week, we are hopping on for a quick reaction pod to the Academy Award nominations, which were released this morning as of this recording. Tatum and I have not yet discussed them at all with each other, so
a lot of self-control was
yes.
used today.
I'm very excited to get into this conversation. So let's just dive right into it. So,
well, can we start actually just by sharing our top 10 films of the year, just to have like a palette from the beginning of these are our favorites, so that we have a reference for everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, to start off, we will just kind of run down what are our personal top 10 movies of the year. You know, what are we thinking, which may or may not align with the Academy. But honestly, overall, it's been such a strong year for movies.
So strong.
It's great. So,
yeah.
Embarrassment of riches. So, Tatum, do you want to start?
Sure. I'll just do, so mine are ranked. I don't know if yours are ranked, Geneva. But
sort of.
Okay. I've spent a lot of time on this ranking over the last few weeks, but it still doesn't feel entirely solid, but it's solid enough. So I'll start with 10 and then I'll move up to 1. So number 10 is Hayao Miyazaki's film, The Boy and the Heron. Number 9 is Greta Gerwig's film, Barbie. Number 8 is Takashi Yamazaki's film, Godzilla -1. It's incredible. Number 7 is Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. Number 6 is Justine Triet's Anatomy of a Fall. Number 5 is Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest. Number 4 is Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things. Number 3 is Celine Song's Past Lives. Number 2 is, there's 3 directors, Joaquim Dos Santos, Justin K. Thompson, and Kemp Powers. And that is for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And my number 1 is directed by Andrew Hai, All of Us Strangers. So
very nice.
Yes. So I'll just say it one more time from 10 up to 1. The Boy and the Heron, Barbie, Godzilla -1, Killers of the Flower Moon, Anatomy of a Fall, The Zone of Interest, Poor Things, Past Lives, Into the Spider-Verse, and All of Us Strangers.
Very nice. And just to give context as well, are there any films from this year that you have not yet had a chance to see, or
good question.
Have you seen basically everything that you had an interest in?
I've seen pretty much everything that I've been interested in, except for Perfect Days, which is a Japanese, I'm pretty sure a Japanese film that was nominated for Best International Feature. It comes to the Music Box in February. I will be seeing that one. But aside from that, I have seen everything that I've wanted to see. I think the most notable films that are nominated here that I haven't seen because I have no interest are Maestro. Have zero interest in seeing that movie. And also American Fiction. It's not that I have zero interest in seeing that movie. It's just not something where I feel a lot of urgency to see it. But I will watch it eventually. But other than that, I feel pretty good.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah. For me, I have not yet seen Zone of Interest, which has finally come to Boston. I just need to find a time to go into the city because it's not yet come out here to the suburbs. Poor Things I've not seen, and All of Us Strangers I've not yet seen. I hope to see that very soon.
I'm going to see it again this week. I'm so excited.
Nice. Yeah, do it. So I did not write down the directors of all of these films. I'm just looking off my Letterboxd list. But so going from 10 to 1, and my top 3 are pretty much set in stone, but everything else is basically unranked.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So
I already know what your number 1 is.
Oh, well, I mean...
I genuinely have no idea what the rest of yours will be, though, because I feel like this is a year where you and I just have very different taste.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, like I was saying to you before we started recording, this year has been such a strong year for movies, and there are so many things in the sort of 11 to 20 spot on my list that easily could slot into the top 10.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a matter of sort of where I'm feeling today versus tomorrow. What are things that kind of have stuck with me versus things that I acknowledge are excellent but just didn't stick as much.
Right.
And then also just kind of looking at what the Oscars rewarded and kind of thinking, well, let me get a few things in here that the Oscars overlooked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. All right. So starting with number 10 is Showing Up, the Kelly Reichardt film. I know technically that premiered at festivals in 2022, but it did not release theatrically in the United States till 2023, so I am counting it. Number 9, American Fiction. Number 8, The Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and
I love
Snakes.
that so much.
And what can I say? I'm a big Hunger Games fan. Number 7, Society of the Snow. Number 6, May December. Number 5.
Interesting.
Number 5, John Wick Chapter 4.
Ooh.
Number 4, Asteroid City. Number 3, The Holdovers. Number 2, Killers of the Flower Moon. And number 1, Oppenheimer.
I actually was spot on for your top 3.
Honestly, you know me well.
And I think just to kind of cross-reference, in terms of our top 10s, we only have...
Do we have
one
anything
in
else
common,
in common apart
which is
from
Killers of the
Flower
Flower
Moon? Do you have Asteroid City or May December?
No. Asteroid City is an honorable mention. May December, it's still a movie where I don't know how to rank it because that movie horrifies me so much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. And like Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, The Color Purple, those are all right outside of my top 10. Those are all ranked really highly for me.
Yeah, and, you know, I have The Holdovers right outside of my top 10. I also want to shout out 2 movies that I'm not seeing really in any sort of conversation anywhere that I think should be recognized. One of them is Rye Lane. That movie is very, very good. It's streaming on Hulu. I highly recommend you see Rye Lane.
I have that on my list of could have received a cinematography nomination.
Yeah.
Among other things.
And then another one, this movie is not perfect, but it still is very good. It's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. No one is talking about this movie. Even when it came out, I feel like no one was talking about this movie. I like it a lot, and so I just want to mention this film. It's definitely not worthy of being on any top 10 lists, but it is a movie that I do think people should see. So
yeah, actually, I left that off my list of movies I've not yet caught up with, but that's one of them. I really want to see it, especially for I'm a big Rachel McAdams fan, and her performance is being really talked about in that film. All right, great. Well, now that we've got that kind of baseline, which I honestly love how different our lists are.
So different.
It's so different. It's great.
But I will also say
a
fair amount of the movies that are on my top 10 you just haven't seen. So
it's true. It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Benefits of living near the music box.
I love it so much.
As you should. Okay, so why don't we start diving into the actual Oscar nominations? Do you want to just my thought, I don't know if you have thoughts about how to structure this conversation. My thought was kind of maybe give a few overall thoughts about the nominations this year, and then kind of start with some of the craft categories, and then kind of work our way up into talking about the sort of above the line, major categories.
Sure.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's fine. This is super casual conversation. Yep. Anyone listening to this, because we're recording this literally Tuesday night and we want this to come out tomorrow morning, this episode will not be edited at all. I'll just be uploading it. So do with that what you will.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So overall thoughts about the nominees this year?
So I will say, so this list came out today. I am back at work, so I haven't really had a lot of time to ponder what is here. But I will say that with the exception of a few extreme upsets, in my opinion, I do kind of like the nominees that we have this year. There are some movies that are in my top 10 that I think deserve to be recognized, but I was very aware that they're a long shot. Whereas there are other things that I thought were kind of a shoo-in for being recognized, and they just straight up weren't. I'm very, very shocked at the high amount of nominations that Maestro has here. I have not seen that movie, but I don't feel like I need to in order to know that there were lots of other movies that could have taken its place. But I don't know who Bradley Cooper paid. He has a hard-on for winning an Oscar.
The Oscars really love Bradley Cooper is the thing. Like, he's been nominated multiple times.
Yeah, it's I don't really get it, but that's kind of the biggest thing for me that I'm like, why is this getting so much recognition? But I don't know. There's got to be at least one movie every year, I guess. I'm thrilled that Saltburn is nowhere on here. I do not like that movie at all. The internet's going crazy. I'm sure everyone knows this, but I'm very upset that Greta Gerwig did not receive a Best Director nomination, and also that Margot Robbie did not receive a Best Actress nomination. I think that's quite strange. And then getting on my pedestal, we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast before, but how the Academy doesn't really recognize things outside of their normal genre of whatever. I'm very upset that Into the Spider-Verse was not nominated for Best Picture. I think that it is an incredible accomplishment. We've never seen a movie like this before. The time and the effort that went into making this and the creativity behind it, it's atrocious to me that this movie was only nominated for Best Animated Feature. I think that's incredibly unfair. And I think it's purely because the Academy is biased against films that are not, traditional dramas or something like that. So yeah, I mean, all of my other thoughts are kind of getting into specifics of the categories. So I guess I can hold off on that. But overall, I'm less angry at the nominations this year than I've been in years past. The main thing is I just don't understand Maestro here. I think it's taken spots that other movies and other actors and things should have had instead. And there's some Barbie shockers for me here, but other than that, I'm honestly kind of fine with it. So yeah,
I largely feel the same. I'm really excited about this pool of nominees. There really isn't anything here where I'm thinking this is just an out and out, absolute atrocity, which has not always been the case with the Oscar nominees.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely quibbles that I have here and there, and I'll talk about them a little bit as we go through, places where I'd think, I really wish this had been bumped so that this thing could get in instead. But yeah, for the most part, I'm really excited about this crop of nominees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to? Okay, so why don't we start talking about some of these kind of below the line craft categories?
Can I just say right off the bat?
Yes.
All the power and all the respect to shorts and documentaries. I respect them to the upteenth degree. It's just hard to watch them and hard to see them. So it's not that you don't deserve to be talked about, and it's not that you don't matter. It's just, how do I see you? I don't know.
Yeah.
The Music Box does a short screening every year where they do all of the live action shorts and all the animated shorts, but that has not happened yet. So
yes,
I respect all of you.
We are two people who have not been to whatever film festivals
right.
these things are screening at. We do not have access to them, so we will respectfully
skip them.
Yeah.
Would you rather have us not talk about you at all than talk
just
about
judge them
you
based
with
on the
strong
titles.
opinions, even though we don't know anything about it? So
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's start with, let's see. We've got best sound here. We've got best costume design, makeup and hairstyling, production design.
Pick one.
Yeah, so many good things. I was really excited to see in costume design, Barbie, I think, is a really excellent nominee for that. It is very disappointing that it didn't make it into makeup and hairstyling, which I know it wasn't on the long list as well, and people were talking about that. I don't know what the reasoning for that is, but the costumes certainly are an excellent thing to recognize. Honestly, I feel like there are other things that as much as I love Oppenheimer, I would have bumped them from costume design and makeup and hairstyling. I was trying to think what are the things that I would have put in. Costume design, honestly, I think the costumes in the Hunger Games movie, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, there's some really inventive, futuristic costumes in that film that are very significant for the characters and who they are and the development that they go over. I would have loved to see that recognized instead. But, that's just me.
Yeah, I feel like best costume design, I mean, this year is just so strong, not just in terms of the movies themselves, but also in terms of all of the craft categories for each of the films. Because for costume design, I think I told you this, Geneva, but I was initially, well, for both costume design and production design, I was very positive that, oh, Barbie's going to win 100%. Like, there's no competition. And then I saw Poor Things, and I was like, man, I mean, and so with costume design, I'm very torn because I wish that there could be a 3-way tie, because I think Barbie, Poor Things, and Killers of the Flower Moon all have exceptional costumes.
Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon has amazing costumes.
So good. I mean, they're literally designed by a Native American woman it's just incredible. So I'm thrilled that all 3 of those movies got recognized, but I'm also heartbroken that only one of them will win, because I think all of them are phenomenal. But Poor Things is the most otherworldly, because Killers of the Flower Moon is grounded in reality, and then Barbie is also kind of grounded in reality in a certain sort of way, whereas Poor Things is like, this is a wild world. And so because of that, the costumes are just, I mean, they're the most beautiful, inventive costumes I've seen in the 21st. Some of the most beautiful ones I've seen in the 21st century. I was blown away by them. So yeah, I'm happy that all 3 of those movies got recognized there, and whichever one wins, I'm happy for them. I don't think Oppenheimer stands a chance, and I have not seen Napoleon, but we've all seen costumes like that before, so let's move on. But yeah, for makeup and hairstyling, I'm trying to think if I have strong feelings about that. I feel like even just in the very short 30 minutes that I saw of Society of the Snow, I feel like the makeup in that was very, very
makeup
good.
in that is fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we could see Killers of the Flower Moon here, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm kind of okay with that category.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of potential alternates. I was kind of amused to see Oppenheimer there, where I'm like, what is the hairstyling? Like, it's fluffing up Cillian Murphy's hair and making him look like he's 25.
I don't know. I feel like putting Iron Claw there could work, or even May December. You know how the movie, as it goes on, they kind of start to have the same hair and the same clothing and all of that.
There's that iconic scene where they're standing in front of the mirror, and Julianne Moore shows Natalie Portman how she does her makeup.
Yeah, and even the hair in Asteroid City, I feel like, and makeup too. I feel like the 3 of those probably could have kicked out Oppenheimer, but whatever. To each their own.
Yeah, there are a lot of categories where I would have, especially craft categories, where I would have loved to see Asteroid City. Asteroid City is just so otherworldly, the way it looks, appropriate for a space-themed movie. But, like, I was like, does it go in cinematography? Does it go in production design? Like, it looks like nothing else, it looks animated in certain ways, but I don't think it is.
It's very Wes Anderson. I mean, all of his movies have a very similar vibe, and I think the Academy is like, how many times are we going to nominate him for the same thing? I say nominate him every time, but
yeah, why not?
I mean, you guys nominate Martin Scorsese every time, so but yeah, what do you think about score, Geneva?
That's a good question. I think these are some very strong nominees. I was just re-listening to the American Fiction score at work today because I was like, I don't remember what that sounded like. And it's this really cool, like, kind of quiet, jazzy score. A lot of piano and saxophone, which really fits the vibe of the film. The Killers of the Flower Moon score is an all-timer. The Oppenheimer score is, one of my favorite scores of all time. It so perfectly fits the vibe of the movie. I was a little amused to see John Williams get in for Indiana Jones, which, if you want a chance to nominate John Williams one more time, sure.
For a score he's already done before.
Yeah. Well, I've not listened to the Dial of Destiny score specifically, but, maybe he had some original themes in there that he hasn't used before. I honestly don't remember. How is the Poor Things score? What do you remember of that?
I think that it deserves a nomination. I mean, it's Yorgos Lanthimos, so it's kind of like it's a lot of strings, and it's very weird and unsettling, and it's like this interesting balance between comedy and I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay, cool.
I will say, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like there's a a really nice diversity to the score nominees in the sense that, you know, the Oppenheimer score is very overpowering. It's very much a character within the film itself. Killers of the Flower Moon is kind of also overpowering at moments, although not always as much, but is very much setting kind of the tone and the mood of the film. The American Fiction score is much more laid back. It's definitely supporting the film, but it's not overpowering it in the same, or functioning, you know, the same way that the Oppenheimer score is. And yeah, so it's nice that they're kind of recognizing different ways that a score can function within a film.
I will say I am rooting for Killers of the Flower Moon here. I did really, really like the score for that film. But I do think that also in terms of score, I'm not familiar with the score for Indiana Jones or the one for American Fiction, but I do think the Into the Spider-Verse and the Godzilla -1 scores are both very strong. The way that in Godzilla -1 they take the original Godzilla theme and really give it new life. I just think that it's really, really well done. So
that's awesome.
Oh,
I've also
I am absolutely shocked that the score for The Boy and the Heron is not here.
I was just gonna say I've heard
absolutely
such
shocked
good things about that score.
I mean, I forget his name, but it's the same guy who does all of the scores for Hayao Miyazaki, and all of them are incredible. And several of them, I think, have been nominated before. And it's so strange to me that it was left out here. But I also, part of me is like, I'm not surprised that Academy members haven't seen The Boy and the Heron, but also I'm very surprised because I'm like, is Miyazaki not as famous as I think he is? Because I feel like he's a pretty big deal and this is his last film, but I don't know. Maybe people just didn't see it.
Last film for now. But at least it made it into animated feature. It would have been ridiculous if it had not.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm very happy to have that movie in my top 10. It moved in and out several times because I was juggling it with the Holdovers and The Color Purple, but I was like, I desperately need this movie to be in my top 10, and so I put it at number 10.
Nice. Well, on a similar note, thoughts on the best original song category?
I'm sorry. Unpopular opinion. I don't like the I'm Just Ken song. I think it's very strange that it's like a radio hit.
I love it.
I think it's a great song within the context of the movie. But I would, if I was just listening to that on the radio and didn't know it was from a movie, I would be like, what? I'm turning this off. I'm changing the station. What is this?
My brother introduced me to a disco playlist on Spotify, which includes a disco remix of I'm Just Ken.
I'd be down for that.
It rules.
I'd be down for that. I think, obviously, maybe not obviously, but I would love to have What Was I Made For win here. I'm a huge Billie Eilish fan, as is everyone else on Earth, but also leaving my fandom for her aside, I think that song is just very, very strong. So
yeah, two omitted songs which I would have loved to see get in. I don't know anything about the Hot Cheetos song. So.
One of my coworkers today actually, so we're still in prep, and so they're particularly like their day is a little bit slow right now. So they came into my office and they were like, "Yeah, I'm watching this movie called Flamin' Hot on my computer," and I'm like, "What is this movie?" I'd never heard of it until they told me about it, and I was like, it's directed by Eva Longoria. Like what?
It's very strange. Anyway, yeah, no disrespect to the Flamin' Hot Cheetos song, but there are a couple others that I would have liked to see it in. So one is the Dear Alien song from Asteroid City. I think that's what it's called. I should have actually looked up the title. The one the little boy Dwight sings, and then everyone's like doing a hoedown, and it's adorable. The other is Camp Isn't Home, which is the final song from the movie Theater Camp, which functions brilliantly within that movie. That's a movie that I've talked about a couple times on the podcast. I have some mixed feelings about it. I'm generally positive, but there are some things that I wish had been kind of stronger. But that final song and the musical as a whole, like that they have created within the context of the movie, that is one of the most powerful things about it. It's this really so for anyone who's not seen the movie, basically one of the characters is kind of put on the spot to improvise a song, and she's kind of is like, "Oh yeah, camp isn't home, but it kind of is. Yeah, it kind of is." And then she's just kind of like talking about things that are going on in the room and like clearly making it all up on the spot, and they're like, "What are you doing?" But then at the very end of the movie, they set that what she's played to music, and within the context of everything that's happened before, it's suddenly this really beautiful, powerful song about, like, you know, finding a second home and family among all these people, you know, putting on performances, doing this artistic work that you love. And it's gorgeous and it works really, really well. So, I mean, it's not the type of movie that the Academy tends to go for, unfortunately, as we've just talked about, but I wished it could have gotten in there.
I also want to shout out the credits song for The Boy and the Heron. I mean, it's in Japanese, but I was sitting in the theater, and when the credits started to roll and this song was playing that had the subtitles on the bottom of the screen, the lyrics were so beautiful. I started crying. I was like, oh man, I don't know if this is true or not, but I would not be surprised if Miyazaki had written the lyrics to the song himself. They were just so heartfelt and really emotional. So, you know, there's no chance that the credits song of a Japanese anime film is going to be nominated, but I just want to say it's very
songs
good.
For movies are nominated all the time, you know?
Yeah, but not for Japanese anime films
no, I guess that's true.
didn't get really much recognition anywhere else. I also want to say too, before you asked me if I'd seen all the movies that I wanted to see, there is one movie aside from Perfect Days that I haven't seen yet, which is Bottoms. I haven't seen Bottoms.
Oh, yes.
I would like to see it at some point, but it just hasn't happened yet. So, yeah. What else, Geneva?
What else? Let's see. Do you have any thoughts on Best Sound?
Yes, of course I do. Sound design or sound mixing? Or is it just best? Oh, no, it's just best sound now.
It's just combined best sound, yeah, because
Which
no one
so
knew
weird
what the
to me.
difference was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apart from Oscar obsessives like us.
I will be... this is probably one of the categories where I have the strongest sentiments that, like, I will be mad if this movie does not win.
I know what you're going to say.
I will be absolutely livid if this movie if The Zone of Interest does not win Best Sound. Tatum
is speechless.
I'm sure that fucking Oppenheimer's going to win this award because that movie's going to sweep fucking everything. But Zone of Interest deserves to win this, and I know it's coming, but I will be mad when it does not win, because I know a lot of people have not seen this movie, but if and when you go see it, I have no words. So I'm preparing myself, but also there is no competition for Best Sound out of any other film that was released this year. So that's my sentiments on that.
All right, you hear that, Academy?
Whereas I know Geneva's probably rooting for Oppenheimer, but
well, sure. I mean, I've not seen Zone of Interest yet, so I can't comment on that. Of the ones that I have seen, I would say Oppenheimer. Although I feel like, I don't know. I really enjoyed the Mission Impossible movie. I feel like this is a category that often goes toward an action movie just because sound is so integral to an action movie. So I wouldn't be mad if that got it, but I think it's probably going to be Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Let's see. Production design. Any thoughts on that?
Ugh, this is another one. Similar to costumes. This was one where I was like, wait, sorry. What did you say? Cinematography or production design?
No, production design.
Sorry. I thought you said production design, but then I was looking at the cinematography category on my computer screen.
Gotcha.
Because I saw that cinematography didn't have Barbie on it. I was like, wait, was Barbie not nominated for production design?
No.
Anyway.
No, thankfully it was. Well deserved.
But yeah, so similar to what I was saying about the costumes, this was a category where I was like, hands down, Barbie's going to win this. Nothing can top it. Like, Barbie is, you can't top it. And then I saw Poor Things, and I was like, well, Poor Things is going to give this movie a run for its money. So I would be happy if either of those won, but ultimately, I do think that Barbie edges out a little bit farther ahead. But I would be totally fine if either of them won. But man, the production design for Barbie, it's so good. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
and it's such an important part of Barbie Land. Like that, Barbie Land is the production design. You know.
Yep.
Two things that I two honorable mentions that I do want to shout out.
Yeah.
Asteroid City, as I said before, I think has incredible production design. But also A Haunting in Venice, the Kenneth Branagh Poirot movie that I actually really, really liked, is very haunting and atmospheric. The entire movie is set within this crumbling Venetian mansion that has all these gorgeous sort of Renaissance peeling murals on the walls and all these antiques and long, shadowy hallways and iron gates and things. The production design of that movie is incredible. I really wish that there's no chance he was going to get a nomination, but in my heart it did.
Yeah. I also wouldn't have been upset to see The Zone of Interest here, but it's fine.
Let's see. I'm kind of like going up on the list that I have in front of me.
I think ours are in different order.
Okay. I'm going on IndieWire. Okay. Let's see. What about visual effects? Do you have any opinions on those?
I do. My opinion is that Godzilla -1 should win this. I have not seen The Creator. I also have not seen Napoleon. Surprise, surprise, I've not seen Guardians of the Galaxy. I do not think that Marvel should be winning visual effects anymore. That's my opinion. But I think that Godzilla -1 should win this. I honestly wonder if it will be. I'm happy that it was even nominated here. But I think it deserves to win. So I'm rooting for it. But also, in order for something to win, it requires getting a lot of votes. And I don't think people in the Academy have seen this movie. So we'll see. But
I will say, in defense of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I don't remember what the history is of how many times Marvel movies have actually been nominated in this category and whether they have ever won. So maybe there's a precedent, maybe they've already got their laurels and we can give it to someone else. I'm totally fine with that. But I will say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the emotional crux of the story, which I think works extremely well, rests on the back of the character of Rocket Raccoon, who's voiced by Bradley Cooper, but is completely a CGI, character. he's a talking raccoon. And the technology and care that is required to create this completely CGI animal who you completely believe as a character who's walking around and interacting with other human beings and has a tragic backstory and pain and trauma and has a whole emotional arc. I think it's very, very well done. So I will say there's a strong case for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Again, if Marvel has been awarded in this category before, I'm fine with it not taking it, but I also wouldn't be mad if it did.
That's a solid argument. I could see that. I haven't seen that movie and I won't, but
fair enough.
that seems like a very solid argument. So now I won't be livid if it wins.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad that I've at least
but also
spared you that.
Just to the listener, I've said this on the podcast before already, but if you have not seen Godzilla -1, seek it out. It's a very good film. That's all I'll say about that.
Yep. Let's see. Best editing. Any thoughts on that?
Sorry, I keep cross-referencing my Letterboxd with looking at the list of what's actually nominated.
Oh, sure.
These are interesting nominees here. I mean, what about The Color Purple? I feel like The Color Purple could squeeze in here for best film editing. But also,
is there anything you would have bumped out?
I mean, I feel like editing doesn't particularly stand out to me that much this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's like in some ways that's a good thing, Like when films are edited well, you shouldn't necessarily always be noticing them. Sometimes that's a sign of good editing. But sometimes it's a movie where the editing is really taking the forefront. Like Oppenheimer is a movie where the editing is so much of what the film is doing. And I think Jennifer LeMay, or Lame, I'm not sure how she pronounces her name, apologies to her, but I think she does an excellent job. The Holdovers is definitely a movie where you don't really notice the editing, but it's really funny and propulsive and it moves really well. And I think the editing plays a good part in that. Killers of the Flower Moon is, famously an extremely long movie, But I think it's so well paced and it keeps you moving. It keeps you interested. Thelma Shoemaker does an absolutely fantastic job with it. Even if she could have suffered to put in a intermission, I wouldn't have minded. But I think she did an excellent job. So, yeah, it's really hard to say what I think should be nominated.
I wonder if animated movies can be included here, because Into the Spider-Verse has incredible editing.
That is a good question.
The pacing of that film and how it's all pieced together, I think, is really admirable. And I will say that with film editing, before you started talking, I like finished my thought and then I started laughing because I had another thought. I'm going to say it because I feel it, but I know it's a...
Is it a tangent?
No, it's not a tangent. It's just a controversial thing, but it's how I feel. I was going to say that Oppenheimer should be kicked out of Best Film Editing because there's a whole half of this movie that shouldn't even be in here and should be cut out.
Oh my gosh.
So the editing is terrible because there's like half of the footage should have been cut out in the editing room, but it stayed in for reasons that I do not understand. Like, cut out the entire last hour of this film.
Oh my gosh.
We don't need it. It's garbage.
And last hour is what makes the movie brilliant.
I just want to say, for reference, because I don't want to destroy this movie on this podcast, because that's not the point. But I will say, my list of movies for this year, I saw 23 movies that came out this year. Oppenheimer I have at 18. So just for reference,
Tatum did not watch a lot of bad movies this year.
I mean, yes, that's always true, but also looking at all of the movies that are above it, like, I put this below so many other movies. It's literally, this movie is 18 and then below it is like Saltburn and royal red, white, and royal blue. So it's I really did not like this movie, but anyway.
It's just absolutely insane to me, but that's okay.
I think everyone else is insane. I recognize that I'm the outlier here. I know that I'm the one that's in the minority. I accept that, but I think everyone else is insane. I don't. This is my personal take.
That's all right.
Geneva,
we are very different people.
Geneva, I hope we will still be friends in 15 years. My suspicion is that this is a movie that in 15 years people will look back on it and say, "Why did that win Best Picture?" That is my opinion. People are gonna look back at it and be like, all these movies it went up against, why did this win? Mark my words. We'll talk about it in 15 years.
All right.
When we are still friends.
In 15 years. Yes. For the record, I saw 34 movies that came out this year. And Oppenheimer is my number one.
I am genuinely curious, though. Can animated films qualify for this?
Yeah, that is a great question, because the process, I feel like, of putting together a movie that is shot,
editing is built into it already, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so many, from what I understand of the animated movie process, which I'm I'm by no means an expert, but it is so much more storyboarded, and they're actually constructing each shot around where they expect it to begin and end. So the editing is kind of baked into the pre-production process rather than post-production, but I could be wrong about that.
That makes sense. I just am very upset that Into the Spider-Verse does not have more recognition here. I feel like, I don't know, not that Letterboxd is like the end-all be-all gospel of film, but this is, if I look at all of my top 10s or your top 10s or most people top 10s, this movie is overwhelmingly the most, like, 5-star film on Letterboxd. Everything else from this past year, everything else is like, oh, there's a lot of 5s, but there's also some 4.5s and some 4s and da-da-da. This movie, it is all 5 stars, and people love this film. I'm just like, how is it not recognized for more things here? I don't get it.
Question for you, because I genuinely don't remember. Are there additional categories that the first Spider-Verse movie got into that this one is not? And also, do you think there's a possibility that since this one is part 1, they're waiting for part 2 to award it?
I do not think that the first one was nominated for anything beyond animated feature, but I could be wrong. That's just going off the top of my head. If they are waiting for part 3, I think that's stupid. I just don't think that makes sense, because what if part 3 doesn't deliver? Like, reward the movie for what it is, and if it's good, then recognize it. And this movie is fantastic. I got my Letterboxd Wrapped, and you look at the Letterboxd Wrapped for all of Letterboxd. this movie is the #1 film on Letterboxd of the entire year. Like, it's a crime that it's literally only nominated for Best Animated Feature. That's an insult to that entire crew of people that made that film come to be. But also, then I'll just get on a short pedestal or soapbox about how the Oscars should have a category for Best Voice Acting. Why is that not a thing? It's been a debate for a long time. It should be a thing. It should be a category. And stunt performers, like what the heck? And ensembles and casting. Like, there's so many other things. Whatever. Just going to say that and then move right on by.
No, I agree. Let's talk about the 2 screenplay categories.
This was weird for me this year. I was confused.
Yeah, because famously Barbie moved from original to adapted kind of late in the game, but it was able to squeeze in. Get a nomination. Yeah, adapted from the existence of Barbie.
But like what? Like what?
I don't have strong feelings about which category
then
Barbie
nominate Blackberry for Best Adapted Screenplay because it's adapted from the phone?
Well,
Blackberry?
I mean, Maestro is going into original screenplay that's adapted from someone's life,
I don't understand.
Yeah. My personal my personal feeling is that I don't have strong feelings about which category the Barbie screenplay should have gone in. I just don't think it should have been nominated at all. Maybe that's a controversial thing to say, but I enjoyed the Barbie movie. I think a lot of things about it are great, including some things that were not nominated, which we will talk about. I think the script is the weakest part of it. And
I agree with you.
I would definitely have Killers of the Flower Moon did not get nominated, and that is an absolute atrocity.
That's crazy.
And
especially considering how they changed it. Like they looked at the book and they originally wrote a script based off of that. And then they talked to the Osage people and they were like, oh, wait a minute. We need to add more of their story in here because this is too much about white people. And I feel like so much care was put into doing that. Granted, was it still written by white people and does it still feature white people? Yes, it does. But they put a lot of effort into making that film more honest and representative of those people. So I'm not Osage. I don't know. I know some Osage people don't feel the best about it, but some people do feel seen by it. So I don't really know. But I definitely think it should have been nominated. Barbie it shouldn't be here, but
yeah. And I mean, similarly with Maestro, there are some interesting things about that movie. I'm not going to say that movie is trash the way some other people are saying. I think there's some good things about that movie. I was not crazy about it, and I specifically think the screenplay is something that lets it down. So I would have loved to see something else get in. I would have loved to see I don't know, Asteroid City.
Well, I was going to say the 2 movies that I would like to see here that aren't here, one of them is Asteroid City, and the other, I was going to say Past Lives. Past Lives is here, so, okay, cool. Oh. So Asteroid City is the one that I feel like is left out here that I would like to see here,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
I feel like the original screenplay is a lot more competitive, because I feel like Anatomy of a Fall is so strong. Past Lives is so strong. May December is so strong. And adapted screenplay, I mean, Poor Things? I mean, obviously I don't like Oppenheimer. I think, honestly, talking about Barbie, and I do agree that the script is the weakest part of Barbie. I think the script is the weakest part of Oppenheimer. In my opinion, that's what really brings it down for me.
I completely disagree after having read the book it's based on and seeing what was done with it. But, fair enough.
That screenplay, I think, is the worst part of that film. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Oppenheimer's going to win adapted screenplay. I don't think anyone's doubting that. But it's just interesting to me that I don't feel like there's...
Flower Moon is not there.
I know, right? What is up with that?
Which is crazy.
That's
I
so
don't understand.
strange. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But
I will... Oh, sorry. Finish
No,
your thought.
I'm good.
Okay. I was just going to say, I'm really, really glad that May December got in for original screenplay, though, because I don't think it was recognized anywhere else. I think this is the only nomination that it got, which is really disappointing.
I think it deserves original screenplay. I do.
Yeah.
I will say, for original screenplay, even though I think Past Lives, May December, and Anatomy of a Fall are the strongest here, The Holdovers is also very strong. I think
I love The Holdovers.
My hope would be for Anatomy of a Fall to win. I mean, come on. That movie, it's all about the script and what they're saying, and not even what they're saying, but how what they're saying represents what they're saying. You know, it's so intertwined. I hope that movie wins original screenplay. I think it deserves it.
Yeah. I honestly, apart from Maestro, I would be fine with any of these nominees winning original screenplay.
Yeah. What if Asteroid City was in there?
Oh gosh.
Then that would be just
I cannot choose.
That would be a slam dunk category.
Slam dunk. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So let's move on to cinematography. You want to talk cinematography?
Yeah.
Okay. What is El Conde? I have never heard of that.
Don't know. I'm gonna Google it right now. You talk while I Google it.
All right. Cool. Let me see. I was not overly impressed with I shouldn't say that. Maestro does have some beautiful cinematography.
It's not in black and white, Geneva. It's black and white.
Partially in black and white. Similar to Oppenheimer, actually. But, you know, Oppenheimer cinematography, Killers of the Flower Moon cinematography, from what I've seen of Poor Things, looks like it has gorgeous cinematography. Again, I would have loved to see Asteroid City get in there. There's probably a few other things. Oh, Rye Lane, I think this would have been a great way to recognize that film, because that film has gorgeous cinematography.
Yep.
And production design, honestly, now that we're talking about Rye Lane.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
El Conde is... Whoa, I want to watch this now.
Wait, what is this?
It's it's a Netflix movie, and the genre is horror comedy, and it's about Augusto Pinochet. I don't know if you know him, but he was the dictator in Chile. Whoa! The plot summary is the plot summary is Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet, who's an actual person, is a 250-year-old vampire. Now tired of his life, he wants to die at last after the disgrace and family crises he has caused.
Wait, what?
What is this movie?
Wait, how have I never heard about this?
The director is Pablo Larraín. I love him.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, this is another movie I need to watch before the Oscars.
All of these stills that I'm seeing on Google Images are pretty intriguing to me. So
I will be absolutely checking out this movie. I'm going to watch it this weekend. My
interest is piqued.
Yes. Anyway. Yeah. So cinematography, I think, obviously Oppenheimer is going to win here. Does it deserve it? Nope. I think that.
Well, actually, I would probably give it of the three that I've seen in this category, I would probably give it to Killers of the Flower Moon. I would not be sad if Oppenheimer took it, though.
I think Poor Things should win here. I think that I'm like, maybe All of Us Strangers here. I mean, it had some good cinematography. I really liked the cinematography in All of Us Strangers. So, long shot. Of course, it didn't get nominated, but for literally anything, what a crime. Second year in a row where Tatum's #1 film of the year received absolutely 0 nominations.
What was your #1 film of last year?
RRR.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Crying Shame. That movie was nominated for nothing.
I don't understand.
But anyway, yeah. So I think it would be nice to see. It'd be nice to see that here, but I agree. Rye Lane could have deserved it. But a lot of these movies, I mean, I've seen Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things, but Poor Things, the cinematography was very, very strong. I hope that. I swear, if Oppenheimer, I mean, it's gonna win, but Poor Things deserves it. It really does. Poor Things really deserves to win this. So.
Can I just say, sorry, just a quick correction before we get a bunch of angry people writing in. RRR was not nominated for anything. It
International
won.
Feature.
No.
Oh no, Not Do Not To or Nacho Nacho won.
Yes. It was not nominated for International Feature because India did not submit it for some reason, but it won, for Original Song.
Which is a great song, but also.
It is a great song.
But also.
But also.
Best Actor.
Could have been nominated.
Best Actor. Best Cinematography. Best screenplay,
best visual effects,
best picture.
yeah.
Like literally everything it should have been nominated for. But alas, I
They should
already
have
went on
invented the
that
best
tirade
stunts
last
category.
year. Yeah, I already did this last year. So let sleeping dogs lie. I'll just fester in my own
Best
self.
swinging on a rope over a pit of fire.
So good.
Best CGI tiger. Sorry.
That movie is incredible. Anyway, if you haven't seen RRR, go watch it. It's on Netflix. Yeah,
right.
I genuinely, I hope that Poor Things is a surprise here. I hope that Poor Things shocks everybody and wins Best Cinematography.
It's possible.
It deserves
people
it.
really seem to like, people who've seen Poor Things really seem to like it. So
It's so, I mean, it's the best that I saw this whole year. So,
all right.
oh, I need to prepare myself for Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer's sweep.
I need to.
So
Even
ready.
you just saying that, I'm like, no. Especially like in such a, it would be something different if it was like another year where all of the other movies weren't so good. But this year it's like, it's beating out so many other movies that deserve to win instead. You know, it's not like going up against Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like,
oh my gosh.
you know, where then it's like sweep all you want. I don't care
Yeah.
because obviously you're better than everything else. But this is a
fair
year.
enough.
where it's
I
like-
would love to see, I really want Oppenheimer to win kind of the big prizes, but I would love to see some more distribution. And honestly, it's more fun when more movies are winning awards, if that makes sense. You know, if it's not all concentrated in the same, you know, handful of movies over and over again. I mean, this is the problem that I feel like the Emmys have every year, is that the same shows tend to win awards, and they're great shows, but there are so many other shows out there that, you know, could use recognition as well.
I was just talking with a coworker today, very brief tangent, but about how for best drama this year, Succession won everything, which like it definitely deserved, but it was going up against The White Lotus season 2 and the final season of Better Call Saul. And it's like, man,
Yeah.
both of those shows in their own right deserve to win everything as well. But because Succession is Succession, it deserved to win everything. But my heart also broke every time because I was like, Better Call Saul never won anything in its entire run, you know, and White Lotus season 2 was so good. But yeah, I mean, Jennifer Coolidge won, which is great.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. Best international feature. We have Society of the Snow. We have Zone of Interest, which I really want to see. There's a movie called The Teacher's Lounge, which I've heard really good things about, from Germany, that I would love to see if I can find somewhere that it's showing. Perfect Days that you mentioned sounds really interesting as well. I was really amused looking over this list at how kind of, you know, Society of the Snow is a submission from Spain, but it's set in Uruguay and Chile. Zone of Interest is set in Germany, but it's a submission from the UK. Perfect Days, Wim Wenders is, I think, German, but it's a Japanese submission. It's like very international feature, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know anything about Io Capitano. Is that someone that you've heard of?
No. Yeah. Maybe honestly, maybe I'll check that one out with the Teacher's Lounge because I would like to see them. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Perfect Days yet. Based off of the 30 torturous minutes that I saw of Society of the Snow, I would not be upset if that movie won. But
I feel like just because it's gotten so many other nominations, the Zone of Interest is the one that I think will win.
And like, it's a great film, and I would not be angry if it won, but I also feel like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Society of the Snow won as well.
Yeah.
Because they're both great films, and they've been in a lot of people's top 10 lists kind of across the board. So either one could take it, but yeah.
All right. So now we're getting into kind of
we haven't done animated yet.
Oh gosh, you're right. I'm sorry. Animated. Yeah. Cause I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts.
You haven't seen any of these, have you?
Spider-Verse is the only one that I've seen. So yeah,
Okay.
what are your thoughts?
So I've seen The Boy and the Heron. Oh, I've been saying Into the Spider-Verse this whole time. Haha. Across the Spider-Verse. Sorry.
I just keep saying Spider-Verse because I cannot tell the two titles apart.
It's like Into is the first one, Across is the second one, Beyond is the third one.
Yeah. This is the same problem that I have with the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, which I don't know what it is about Spider-Man movies. They're just like, let's all name them the same thing with slightly different prepositions.
I know. But yeah, so I've seen The Boy and the Heron, I've seen Across the Spider-Verse, and I've seen Nimona. All three of them are great. You know, I would love to have Miyazaki win this as his final film. But I mean, it has to go to Across the Spider-Verse. I will say The Boy and the Heron, just to shout it out a little bit, it's an incredible, incredible movie made by a master of his craft, a master of his time. There will never be another one like him. And The Boy and the Heron it employs some of animation that is so different from animation that he's used in the past. The style is very new and very fresh because I think I've said this before previously on the podcast, but because he's aged so much, he's so old at this point, he can't hand draw everything himself anymore. And so he brought in other animators to help him kind of finish everything. And so because of that, he got influences from other people. And so the animation is so different from what he's done in the past and beautiful. And I mean, there's just things here that I watched this movie and I was like, what? He's walking through fire, but it also looks like water. And it's so good. So The Boy and the Heron is phenomenal. That's why it's in my top 10. But Across the Spider-Verse is just, it's magic. It's just magic. I saw Across the Spider-Verse is the movie I saw the most in theaters this year. I saw it 3 times in theaters.
Wow.
And every
That's
time
amazing.
it was a blast. And it is the score that I've listened to the most this year. It was my number 1 of the whole year until like 2 days ago. And I was like, Tatum, you got to be honest with yourself. All of Us Strangers is number 1.
Speak your truth, Tatum.
I got to speak my truth. But Across the Spider-Verse is just barely behind it. But if that movie does not win, I will riot. Unless it goes to Boy and the Heron, then I'll be like, okay, graciously, I resign to, you know, Miyazaki's genius. But I mean, come on. You know, come on.
All right. Let's move on to the acting categories. So let's talk about supporting actor and supporting actress.
Oh boy, this is where my feelings begin.
Oh boy. I am really, really glad to see that Sterling K. Brown got in, which I was not expecting, although I am disappointed that Charles Melton and
that is my that's my rampage. Out of the entire nominees this year, that is the one that I'm like most angry about. I'm
it is
absolutely
disappointing. I'm not surprised given the way that the forerunners to the Oscar had been going, but it is disappointing because he gives an excellent performance in May December, and it really deserved that recognition.
I think that Charles Melton, controversial opinion, and that's fine, but I think that Charles Melton, well,
it's MEL.
Melton. Okay. I think that he gives the best performance out of any category and any performance of the entire year. I was absolutely taken aback by his performance in that film. I don't think any performance I've seen this year tops it. And it's really unfortunate that he is not recognized here. I think he very easily could have taken Robert Downey Jr.'s place or Robert De Niro's place. I feel like both of those guys are just there because they are who they are, and the Academy's like, hey, Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., let's give them an Oscar nomination. And I'm like, I love them, but also sometimes they don't need to be nominated.
Robert Downey Jr., I definitely disagree because this is a nomination that is such a return. You know, the narrative arc of his career has so many twists and turns, so many ups and downs, and this really does feel like, I think he's excellent in Oppenheimer, but this is also such an achievement, you know, for him personally and everything that he's been through and everything that he's achieved. And so I am really excited that he has that nomination. Robert De Niro, I think he's very good in Killers of the Flower Moon,
Yeah,
but
he's
I
always
agree
good.
with you that I would not be sad if we could have bumped him to make way for Charles Melton, you know, a young upcoming actor who's giving a really excellent, unexpected performance, or Paul Mescal. I mean, I've not seen All of Us Strangers, but
I don't think Paul Mescal deserved a nomination here. I mean,
really?
I love Paul Mescal. He's amazing. There is nothing that he's done that I have not wept while watching. I love him. He is a genius. Gosh, I love him so much. But
For that movie specifically, there
yes.
isn't really enough to
But
reward.
I will say his performance is stronger than Robert De Niro and Robert Downey Jr. So I will say, since Charles Melton is not nominated here, which it's clear I would want him to win, but since he's not here, I think it should go to Mark Ruffalo. But also, this was another thing where I was like, Ryan Gosling, he's got it locked down. Of course he's going to win this. Like, no one can compete with him. He was so good as Ken. I love Ryan Gosling when he does comedies. He's so weird and it works. But then Poor Things came out and I was like, well, I'm just having an internal battle between Barbie and Poor Things this year.
Fair enough.
So honestly, if it's Mark Ruffalo or Ryan Gosling, I'll be happy. Honestly, I'll be happy with either of them, but I wish Charles Melton was here.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be either one of them, but who knows? We'll see.
Who do you think it's going to be? Robert Downey Jr.? Barf.
He's been winning everything else.
Why? He's the worst part of that movie.
What are you talking about?
The last 45 minutes of that movie are trash. Why?
You are insane for that.
They're so... Oh, God.
It's all right. It's all good. All right. Supporting actress. Danielle Brooks is kind of the only recognition that The Color Purple has had, but I was very glad to see her get in. America Ferrera in Barbie.
Yeah. Do we even need to talk about this?
I mean, I love America Ferrera. She is a wonderful actress. I'm very happy for her to get an Oscar nomination, but that role is so underwritten. And
Geneva, hot take. I think she's gonna win.
No.
I think she's gonna win.
No. There's no.
I think she's
Dava
gonna win.
and Joy Randolph has been getting all sorts of forerunners.
That's my pick. I want her to win, but I think America Ferrera might win.
Oh my gosh. If she wins,
I'm calling it right now. I'm not saying she deserves it because she doesn't, but I think she might win.
All right. I will prepare myself.
Like, I would have rather have seen like Issa Rae there, like any of the, like
sure, yeah.
So many of the other supporting
Julianne
women.
Moore. I don't know if she would have gone in for a supporting or lead, but
I think she would
Rachel
have been
McAdams for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I've not
she was
seen
good in
that movie, but she
was good in that movie.
She had some excellent buzz.
America Ferrera is just so random here, but it's like I think
it's because she had that
of that
monologue, which was terribly written, in my opinion.
Because of that monologue, yeah.
To be clear, I don't say it's terribly written because I disagree with the content of the monologue. I just think it's extremely obvious, and anyway, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Happy for Barbie to get recognition.
Can I also say, I mean, I just think that this category in general is just kind of weak this year. I mean, Emily Blunt doesn't really do anything in Oppenheimer. Yeah. I haven't seen Naiad, so I don't really know. But there just isn't really much going here. The only person that I feel like should be here that isn't, from what I've seen, is Julianne Moore. But other than that, I'm like, no one else really. I mean, like you said, Rachel McAdams, I guess that could have been fine.
Yeah.
Or honestly, Taraji P. Henson, I thought was great in The Color Purple. She did a very good job. But it's fine. Yeah. I hope it's Divine Joy Randolph, but it could be America Ferrera.
I will prepare myself. Honestly, sorry, I just keep bringing up Asteroid City, but Scarlett Johansson is really wonderful in that film. I mean, there are several different acting performances in that film that could have been nominated, but I think she's one of them. Anyway, let's move on to lead actor and actress.
Oh. Sorry.
Don't know what that was for.
I just saw Bradley Cooper Maestro, and that was my immediate reaction.
Gotcha.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, he's good in it. I don't like the movie. He's doing his thing.
This is another movie, actually, that I wanted to see before the Oscars, Rustin. I wanted to see Rustin.
Yeah, I'm very curious about it. I've not heard very good things about the movie itself, but from what I've heard, Coleman Domingo is incredible. I mean, as he usually is, he's an incredible actor. Yeah, I feel like this race, the way it's looking, it's very much Giamatti versus Murphy, which I'm totally here for.
I agree.
Whichever one wins, I'm perfectly happy.
Yep. Can I say I'm very glad that Leonardo DiCaprio was not nominated here.
Agreed.
Because his performance, I love Leo. He's one of my favorite actors. But whenever people are like, he gave one of the best, I'm like, no, he didn't. His teeth, like, you know, like it was
his downturned, angry cat,
he was like grumpy cat
expression.
Yeah. Like, he didn't do a bad job, but it's like one of the best performances of the year. No,
I don't know. I kind of argue that he did a bad job.
Can I just say, I got Andrew Scott, guys. Come on, come on. Like, I just justice for Andrew Scott. That's all I will say. Yeah. I will also say I did really like the lead actor in Godzilla -1. I thought he did a great job as well. I really liked his performance. But yes, I do think this is Cillian Murphy versus Paul Giamatti. I am not a fan of Oppenheimer, but if it is to win an Oscar, Cillian Murphy is the one who deserved it. His performance is the only good thing about that movie.
His performance is one of many good things about that movie, but it's incredible. And then Paul Giamatti is also incredible. I'm so happy that Jeffrey Wright got a nomination as well. I think he's really wonderful in American fiction.
I know that you were a little bit more fond of this movie than I was. Not that I wasn't fond of it, but did you have any desire to see Zac Efron here?
Yeah. I mean, I have, let me see, who did I write down? Yeah, Andrew Scott or Zac Efron really would have been happy to see. I mean, I wouldn't want him in over Giamatti, Murphy, or Wright, but over Cooper, and then I've not seen Rustin, so I can't really comment on Coleman Domingo. Yeah, I would have loved to see him in that category if possible.
Yeah. Andrew Scott. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. I think that's another circumstance for All of Us Strangers in addition to other things. I just don't think enough people saw All of Us Strangers. Yeah, it came out too late in the year. Case. It's a small indie. You know, I just don't think a lot of people saw it. Yeah. Which is a crime. But I think that's the main reason why it didn't get nominated for more things. You know, it doesn't have the mass appeal of something like Oppenheimer, but I still think had people seen it, it would have been nominated for more. But
yeah. Best Actress, I feel like the race, similarly to Best Actor, this is kind of coming down to a like Lily Gladstone versus Emma Stone.
Oh, what I've been seeing. I disagree.
Oh, who are you thinking? I mean, I feel like Lily Gladstone's going to take it. I don't really see anyone else taking it, but I could be wrong. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
So I think it's kind of a three-way race right now between Emma Stone, Sandra Hüller, and Lily Gladstone.
Sandra Hüller is fantastic.
My personal pick is Sandra Hüller, honestly. I think she gives the strongest performance out of all of these people. I love Lily Gladstone. I also love Killers of the Flower Moon, but the more I've thought about it, I don't think her performance is as strong as people are thinking. And it's not because her performance is bad. It's just because I don't think she has enough material to work with. So I don't think it's her fault. I think that if they'd given her more to chew on, she would have really, really knocked everyone else out of the park. But she just didn't have enough. So Emma Stone, I love her to death. I think she would deserve to win, but she's already won an Oscar and she's been nominated. She's already won 2 Oscars and she's been nominated like infinity times. So I really, really want Sandra Hüller to win here. But it'll probably be Lily Gladstone, let's be honest, which I'm fine with. I wouldn't be upset by that. But my favorite performance would be Sandra Hüller.
Cannot comment on Annette Bening and Naiad. Carey Mulligan and Maestro. No, she's good, I guess. I have so many problems with that script, and a lot of it is around the use of the wife character, and
Also, we have to note that like Natalie Portman is not here. Margot Robbie is not here.
Oh yes, sorry. Thank you for reminding me. That is a big
it's a big shot
that I have.
It's a big shot.
Honestly, within Barbie, the 2 things that I think are strongest about the movie, apart from the excellent craft that we already talked about, the production design, the costume design, etc. The best thing about that movie is how it was directed and how the starring actress who somehow manages to convey, the sense of a plastic doll who has come to life and kind of has no interiority and is developing interiority throughout the film. Like it's a really difficult performance, and she makes it look so easy. I mean, I really like Margot Robbie. I think she's a really talented actress, and she has been nominated before, but I was really disappointed not to see her. Yeah, I was really disappointed not to see her here because I think that whole movie really rests on her. And, you know, Ken is the spice. Like, Ryan Gosling is fantastic, but the movie would, in my opinion, collapse without her. So I think it's just the price of, like, making it look too easy, you know?
I mean, yes, I agree with you. And me and a friend, we were laughing about it today, and we were like, how ironic is it that in the movie called Barbie did not get nominated?
I know.
That's just
not a
crazy.
great look, honestly.
But yeah, the movie, it lives and dies by her performance. And, you know, obviously Ryan Gosling is a very, very incredible supporting character to that film. But without Barbie and a convincing performance. Also, sorry, this just came to my brain out of nowhere. Best Supporting Actress nomination for Kate McKinnon? Like, hello. I would have been okay with that. I mean, look at who's in here, Geneva. Like, she could have taken the place of,
like, over America Ferrera?
Yeah, or even Emily Blunt, but I don't know. I wouldn't have been mad about it. But
yeah. You probably like Kate McKinnon a little more than me. She's a little more, I don't know. She can sometimes be a little bit alienating for me, but I actually do like her in Barbie. So yeah, I wouldn't have been too mad about it.
So you think Lily Gladstone's going to win?
That's my prediction. Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
That's my prediction as well. But Sandra
if she
Euler's
doesn't,
my
I think it'll be Emma Stone.
Who's your pick, though?
Who is my... Yeah, like, well, because I haven't seen Poor Things yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I do like Sandra Huller, but I think I would give it to Lily Gladstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Best Director.
Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Or should we go wah, wah, wah?
I mean, it's a strong list, I think. Greta Gerwig not being on the list is obviously a
terrible misstep.
Disappointing. But honestly, I don't know who I would kick off. I mean, I've not seen Poor Things yet. I've not seen The Zone of Interest yet. But Christopher Nolan, incredible achievement with Oppenheimer. Justin Triet, Anatomy of the Fall is fantastic. Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest to ever do it. Yeah. I'm glad that we have at least one female nominee. You know, it is possible, Academy, to nominate more than one woman in 1 year, but one of these days
it is possible to nominate one less white man. Can I just say, it very much so bothers me that Greta Gerwig got a nomination for Little Women as a director and did not get a nomination for Barbie, because I feel like the directing in Barbie is so much stronger than it is. At least I think she was nominated for Little Women. I'm pretty sure she was. Double check me on that.
I will double check you on that. That sounds right, but I'm gonna.
It just bothers me across the board, whether it's an acting performance or cinematography or directing or whatever, when people get nominated for something that is not as good as other things that they don't get nominated for. That's just something that bothers me. And I think it's just awful that Greta Gerwig was not recognized here.
When you say the directing, in your opinion, is stronger for Little Women, or for Barbie than for Little Women, what do you mean?
We will talk about that when we're not recording, because it will take me quite a while to describe that. And you and I are both falling asleep.
She was not nominated as a director for Little Women. She was nominated as a director for Lady Bird,
which she should have been.
Her screenplay was nominated for Little Women.
Okay, gotcha.
And for Lady Bird.
Lady Bird, incredible film. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Yeah, it's a perfect film.
And great achievement in directing too.
Yes, exactly. But yes, I think it's very sad that she is not here. I think, goes without saying, I don't think Christopher Nolan should be here. Don't think Oppenheimer is a good movie. And I think a lot of the reason why it's not good is because of choices that he specifically made that I think are bad choices. Just why? That's all I have to say. But everyone else I'm fine with. I think I think my preference would be to have Martin Scorsese win. I think his accomplishment in Killers of the Flower Moon is it's a massive achievement. And I would love to see him win Best Director for this because he hasn't won Best Director in a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think he's won since The Departed. And I don't know if how many more movies he's going to be able to churn out. And this would be such a great final win for him. You know, the directing in this is so incredible. So
yeah,
I would love to see Scorsese win, but it's probably going to go to Nolan.
Yeah, and it is well deserved. Let me just say, I know you disagree, and that's fine. But I am really, really excited.
I just feel like I need to be vocal about my feelings because everyone else agrees with you. So it's like all of your opinions go without saying, whereas mine have to be said because no one else is saying them.
And I just feel like I need to express, my counterweight to that.
That is your right.
Martin Scorsese has been nominated a gazillion Oscars, but I think he's only actually won.
I think he only won for The Departed.
Yeah, for directing. Yeah, he only won for The Departed. Yeah.
Yep. Which is what I'm saying. I would love to have him get a win for Killers of the Flower Moon. That'd be so great. But whatever.
Yeah. All right, and then finally the big final category, Best Picture. So I've seen all of them except Poor Things and Zone of Interest. Looking forward to catching up on those two. For me, I feel like it's very much, kind of like I said before, like kind of what I would have expected. There's not really a whole lot of surprises for me. I'm glad Barbie got in. I'm glad that Past Lives got in. And, I definitely would have subbed Maestro out for a couple other things that we've talked about on this podcast already. But overall, yeah, I'm not too mad about it. What do you think?
I'm not too mad about it either. I think the main crime for me here is I think Maestro should be swapped for Across the Spider-Verse. That movie should be nominated for Best Picture. I think it should win Best Picture, but at the very least, it should be nominated. I'm very bummed that it's not here, especially with just a mediocre film like Maestro, even though I haven't seen it. But
you keep slamming Maestro. What if you watched it?
I'm not.
Wait a second.
It's like my favorite movie.
Make way, all of us strangers. New favorite film.
See, I'm not. It's not that I hate Maestro. It's just looking at this list of all of these other movies. I know it's not as good as them. I just know it's not.
Understand.
So I really think that
it's coming from someone who has seen it. It's not.
Yeah, I really think Across the Spider-Verse should be here. I'm really bummed that it's not. It's like, why does Toy Story 3 get a nomination and then this doesn't? Like, I just whatever. But yeah, two other films that I would love to see here, but I knew they wouldn't be here because they're long shots or not even on people's minds at all. Would be All of Us Strangers and Godzilla -1. But I don't even know what movies here I would swap with them. Like maybe I'd swap American Fiction, but I haven't seen it. The Holdovers isn't in my top 10, but I'm also not mad about it being nominated for Best Picture. So yeah, the only one here is I think if Maestro was swapped for Across the Spider-Verse, I'd be like, you know what? 10 out of 10 for these nominees, to be honest. Like, because it's a long shot for Godzilla -1 or All of Us Strangers. So yeah. I'm ultimately happy with this. I'm not happy that Oppenheimer is going to win Best Picture. Looking at this list, look at how many good movies are here, Geneva.
And Oppenheimer's one of them.
Even if Oppenheimer was a good movie, which I don't think that it is, but even if it was, it's not better than like half of these movies that are here. But whatever.
Yeah.
What if after the Oscars, Oppenheimer doesn't win anything? Who's laughing now?
It's possible. Stranger things have happened.
What if Oppenheimer wins nothing and Maestro wins everything?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think then neither of us would be happy.
Right. We'd both be very upset.
Yeah. Yeah. I do get stressed out sometimes, honestly, when a movie that I personally love and means a lot to me is like poised to win a whole bunch of... This is one of the reasons that I was really glad that 1917 did not win the Best Picture Oscar, and Parasite did, which I honestly think Parasite's a little better than 1917 as much as I love 1917, but it's also like I feel like sometimes the weight of that can bring down a movie that I really like, and yeah, it's stressful because then all the eyes are on it. The backlash begins. You never want.
Unless
that.
it's a perfect film like Return of the King, and there's nothing negative that can be said about it for the rest of time. But, man, can you imagine like if that movie was released right now? Because I was too young. Like I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't get to participate in the anticipation.
But if those were coming out now, oh my gosh.
Would you be able to survive though? I feel like you would just. The stress of it you'd waste away and die.
I don't think I'd be stressed. I'd be like, nah.
You'd be serene in the knowledge that
like everyone knows. Like everyone knows.
It's not even
and everyone did know. So
everyone
it's fine.
did know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, to wrap up, is any either final thoughts about the Oscars as a whole, anticipations, or any last kind of shout outs that you want to give of things that movies that we haven't discussed that you would have liked to see get in one place or another?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've mentioned most of them. I just want to give another shout out to Rye Lane and Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Those are movies that have just kind of flown under the radar. They're very good. So, yeah, but everything else, I mean, I feel relatively good this year about the nominees. There are a few things that should be here that aren't, and a few things that are here that shouldn't be. But overall, I think I'm going to be more excited about the nominations than the winners themselves because it's all going to be fucking Oppenheimer. So I know that we're going to have a post-Oscars discussion episode, but I don't really know what we're going to talk about because it's all going to be Oppenheimer.
I'm sure there are going to be some upsets. And like you said, maybe Oppenheimer won't sweep. Maybe it'll be a shocking surprise. Sometimes things get a lot of nominations, but then don't actually win. Like
Mad Max Fury. Actually, no, Mad Max Fury Road won like everything except for 30. So never mind. But yeah, this has just been such a strong year for movies, and I'm so thankful for this past year because 2024 is going to be a little dry, I think. But we'll see. Movies kind of just come out of the woodworks later on in the year, I feel like.
I mean, we've got Dune Part 2.
We've got Dune Part 2. We've got a new Bong Joon-ho movie coming out. We've got a Kristen Stewart A24 lesbian film, which what else could we ask for? We have Alex Garland's Civil War, which I'm intrigued to see. So it's not nothing. Oh, the Coen brothers, or Ethan Coen, also has like a lesbian movie coming out, which I'm excited about as well. So we've got Richard Linklater's Hitman.
Yep. Excited about that.
It's not going to be a terrible year, but I don't think it's going to be as strong as this past year.
Yeah. Well, let's do some last minute, because I'm just looking through my Letterboxd list and there are a couple other performances or random things that I'm like, there's no way this would have gotten nominated. And so I didn't mention it, but I just want to shout it out.
Yeah, go for it.
So in Iron Claw, we already talked about how great Zac Efron is, but all of the actors who play his brothers are really excellent. In particular, I really loved Harris Dickinson's performance. I thought he was really wonderful. In Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, I have been a Haley Atwell fan for years, and I think she is so wonderful in this movie. She's such a movie star. I think people need to build so many more big movies that allow us to gaze upon her gorgeous face on a tall screen.
What about as far as shout outs, what about cinematography or production design for John Wick?
Oh, yes.
You
know? I would be very happy with either of those things. Supporting, oh gosh, I'm so mad at myself that I didn't even think to shout this out. Donnie Yen in John Wick Chapter 4 for supporting actor. The physicality of the way his fighting style is incredible.
So good.
There's also a Rena, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I apologize. She's a pop star, but she was also a supporting actress in John Wick Chapter 4, and she's also incredible. So shout out to her. Let's see. A lot of people were disappointed, myself among them, that Glenn Howerton did not get nominated for Blackberry. He's really, really great in that movie. Let's see. Jennifer Lawrence is so fucking funny in No Hard Feelings. I love her so much. It's a fearless performance. Nothing that the Academy would ever nominate, but
she was just having a good time.
She's great. She's like, I'm back, guys.
Yep.
So I'm back. Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else. Anything from you that you want to shout out?
Nope. I want to go to bed.
Okay, me too.
We do this for you, listener. But also we do this for us.
But also
Geneva and I were going to do this anyway. So,
right before we started, I was like, Tatum, I'm really tired. This is needs to be a short episode. And here we are, like almost an hour and a half in.
Yep.
So, all right. We're going to make that it. We're going to call it a day.
So I'll just say real quick what we'll be talking about next week. Next week, we will be talking about the movie Blind Spotting from 2018. I think it's 2018. So yeah, it's a great film that a lot of people haven't seen, but it's worth watching and worth talking about. So yeah, come back for Blind Spotting.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day or night or whatever you're listening to.
Enjoy the rest of your life. I don't know.
Yeah. Have a nice life. All right. But also come back and listen to us again.
Can you guys tell that it's almost 11:30 p.m. Geneva's time and almost 10:30 p.m. my time? We are delirious.
Oh boy.
Thanks for putting up with us, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.